Hi, I'm Charlie Helmick, and welcome to another installment of Sterling Suggestions for Your Retirement. I think the show today is really particularly important. It's scams for retirees. We all live in a society where it's almost like the Wild West with websites and internet. There are so many different types of scams, spoofing phone numbers, identity thefts, mailings on lottery winnings in foreign countries, and I could go on and on and on. But I think the thing to remember is that all of these scams that are happening to everyone out there really are often targeted against seniors. And in fact, I have some statistics here. First, I want to introduce some people. Heidi is here with me, once again, my wife. We've gone through a couple of attempted scams together and done very well with them. And I'm very pleased to have Angela DeLeon here with us today as our expert to give us some ideas. Angela has an incredible background.
Thank you, Charlie.
She had worked with the Bridgeport Police Department for years in protecting seniors.
Yes, I was a crime prevention specialist with Bridgeport PD.
Right.
Yes.
And now for the last umpty-9 years,
23.
23 wonderful years,
yes.
You've been with People's United.
Yes.
And I think it's wonderful that you really head up the team there to protect people against fraud.
Yes,
So
our older adult customers.
You are a perfect person to be here today.
Thank
and
you.
In fact, before we go further, that's why I wanted to introduce you both now. Some really staggering statistics concerning what's happening to older adults. 36.5 billion annual losses because of these scams that are being perpetrated. 1 in 5 older adults are victims. Only 1 in 40 cases are reported. That's really astronomical. And 46% of them is from exploitation, misusing them, 35% for fraud, and 18% trusting others, which is terrible indictment. So that's why I think this is so incredibly important. And to get us started on this, I wanted, Heidi, if you wouldn't mind going through one of the scams that was attempted to be perpetrated against us.
Tell Angela the close one for us. The close call for us. The closest we got to being victimized.
This was, yeah.
I've always thought of myself as reasonably tuned in, informed, and mostly in charge of my world, I thought, until the IRS called me.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a real watershed event for me, because I realized that I'm as vulnerable as anyone and that I can be rattled. Phone rang, I recognized a Washington, D.C. area code. Our daughters live in the D.C. area. I saw a name and a number, thought, oh, okay, I'm going to answer this. I answered it. And a young man proceeded to tell me that there was a warrant out for my arrest, that I owed a lot of money to the IRS, that if I didn't pay it right away, I was going to be arrested. And I just, as he was going through this, I started to smell something funny, but I wasn't, so I started to push back, and he became more and more aggressive, and I became more and more rattled. And finally, at some point in the conversation, I just decided this isn't real. And I said, this conversation is over. And I hung up.
Good.
He called me back immediately and started harassing me again more aggressively.
Yeah.
And I had played all my cards, and I said, I'm going to have my husband call you and talk to you about this. He said, fine. So I called Charlie immediately, I said, you have to talk to this guy. I don't know what's going on. I was genuinely rattled. And he wound up putting off this young man who closed the conversation by saying, and I hope your wife gets arrested, and he hung up on him. I have since come to know that this is the #1 scam in terms of complaints that is perpetrated. It's the most reported scam against seniors. Between the years 2013 and 2017, I have to look at my notes, 2 million taxpayers were contacted by fraudulent IRS representatives, over 12,000 victims, $60 million in losses.
Amazing.
So I'm keeping good company, but it was a real lesson to me that you have to be aware, alert, and not give yourself a hard time about engaging, because you know, as I said, I thought of myself as reasonably informed, but I had not heard yet about this scam, and I got sucked in, and it was very upsetting.
Yes.
So I decided to put aside my guilt for being upset, but also made up my mind to stay on top of things and to make an effort to really stay informed. So I want to, can I share this with
Sure,
everyone now?
yeah, no,
So one of the things that I found out about was a very wonderful brochure. Actually, it's a booklet. It's a 40-page booklet that is available on the internet on Senator Susan Collins' site, because she is the chairman of the United States Special Committee on Aging, and they've done a 40-page booklet called Fighting Fraud. Senate Aging Committee identifies the top 10 scams targeting our nation's seniors. And it's very thorough, makes you think, makes you feel not alone. Mm. And I encourage everyone to go online and find this out. Find the brochure. You can find it on Senator Collins' website. Download it, read it. There's also a booklet from the New York State Attorney General's office that is called Smart Seniors, which also has some very good suggestions in it. And one of the things that we know is that certain areas are prone to certain types of scams. So I'm going to let you tell more about that, because I know you're the expert on that.
Well, I think what we're trying to do with this program today is to arm people with the weapon of awareness. Mm-hmm. And as you said, you were not aware of the IRS scam, so you were very frightened by it. And I think if you were aware, you would have known that it was a scam and you would have hung up. But that's a problem with a lot of older people today, with us, okay? We have been raised to be polite, to be kind, to be nice if someone calls you on the phone. If someone comes to your door and you hear the knock, you open the door. That's how we were raised, okay? But today, this moment, I'm giving everyone permission to be rude. Hang up. Yeah. The longer you stay on the phone with a scam artist, the easier it is for them to get into your pocket. Most of the time, Charlie, they have a lot of information on you. They can go on Google. They can Google your name. They've got your kids' names. They probably knew that your children were in Washington.
From D.C. area.
Okay? So that was one of the reasons that they put that, that number on your phone. Okay, which is very easy for them to do. That's you know, that you'll see FBI on the phone. You'll
Verizon.
See the local police department. Your own name and your telephone number. They've called, you know, and you're thinking just, I didn't call myself. Right. You know, but they can do that. They have that ability. This is their full-time job to get into your pockets and steal your hard-earned money.
Yeah, just wanted to follow up because with yours, the longer you were on the phone, he realized that he got somebody who really takes things seriously, and that's why he was relentless about it. And I was just amazed when I called him back that he was even more relentless in it, because he thought, okay, I've got the fish on the hook here. Yeah. Now I'm going to try and keep going with this. Yeah. So.
And I responded with emotion, which is what they look for. There's that emotional hook. They draw you in. They make you afraid. They promise you something incredibly wonderful.
Well, what's the thing that we were saying? People who were most liable to this were the ones who were thrifty.
Oh, friendly, thrifty, and financially sophisticated.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
So.
Those are the easiest because I guess they're used to doing larger transactions, and because they're so sophisticated or friendly, they're giving the person on the other side the benefit of the doubt.
You know, Charlie, and you said something with those statistics. Older people are reluctant to report that they've been victimized because they feel, so, well, I'm old, so that's the reason why it happened to me. They have to tell someone. Either call your local police department, call the FBI office. Let someone know, because that's the only way that they will know that these scam artists are working in your area.
Well, I think if one thing is coming out of this series of shows is that you really have to be an advocate for yourself. And you just can't sit back and say, I'm older now. you really have to.
And somebody's going to take care of me?
Yes, you can't wait to be taken care of.
No,
absolutely.
You have to learn about this. And some people say, oh, I don't even want to hear it. You know, it frightens me. I won't sleep tonight. You're going to sleep like a baby because we're arming you again with the weapon of awareness. When you were a little kid, okay, your mom said, don't go near the stove. The stove is hot. Go near the stove, you're going to get burnt. If you never went near the stove again, you'd never have a homemade meal. You'd starve, you know?
Right.
So she was just making you aware. And that's what we're doing with these programs, making people aware. And it's so important.
I think there's a certain amount of good citizenship in reporting it too, because it's not just you being aware for the next time. It's you telling other people
sharing it.
That this is sharing is very important. One of the things that I came across was the notion of staying in contact was one way to protect yourself. Talk to your friends, talk to your circle, exchange these experiences, report them specifically to authorities, and read the news, listen to the radio, whether it's on the internet or television, however get you input of information. Just try to keep your antenna up and receiving, because if you don't, you have no way of knowing that there's a new IRS scam out there.
Right.
And helping your friends stay away from it too.
A lot of people are reluctant to tell anyone because they're afraid that the authorities are going to tell their children. And their children are going to say, you know, Mom, Dad, I think it's time to take the checkbook because you've been scammed and, you know, I'm afraid you don't know what you're doing. And their greatest fear is going into a nursing home or, you know, losing their ability to take care of their own finances. So I think if you don't want to tell your kids, if you don't have that kind of relationship with your children, then call the police department and let them know so that they're aware that it's happening in their area and they can help people.
The unfortunate thing that I read too is that once you have been the victim of a scam, you are more likely to be victimized a second time.
What happens is, if you have been a victim of a scam, they will then sell your name. And you have a little star next to your name or whatever, and you go on, it's not a nice word, but you go on what's called a sucker list. And then you will get more calls because they've sold your name. They say, oh, this is a real good one. We can make some money with these people.
Is that why our phone rang so often?
Well,
what did I do?
To my knowledge, we weren't suckers yet.
No.
It's the yet in that sentence that scares me.
You came with some really quick kind of tips that I wanted to make sure that we go through. So some of the things you had on the list, some ideas.
Well, one of the things that I really want people to remember is if you get a call from someone who is telling you something that, you know, one you don't want to hear, that you're uncomfortable with, hang up the phone. Be rude. The longer you stay on the phone with a scam artist, the easier it is for them to get into your pocket. So hang up. The other thing is, if you see something on the computer, if there is something in your emails and you're uncomfortable with it, delete, delete, delete.
Don't click on it.
Okay? Do not click on it.
Don't click on anything.
Okay? So beware of that. Now, there are some common scams that are going around today. One is the computer scam. And I have had friends who have fallen for that. And they tell you your computer is broken, or, you know, they're from a computer company and they realize that you have some problems with your computer.
They're getting bad signals.
That's
the one I got. We're getting bad signals from your computer.
Okay.
I said, really?
Yeah. I would just hang up on them because it's definitely a scam. So many people have fallen for it. One of my friend's moms fell for it. She lost $9,200.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. and they told her to go down and buy iTunes cards. Now, this is not a dumb woman.
No.
But they are so good at what they do. They're trained in the art of persuasion.
Yes, yes.
They're con artists,
Yes.
and con stands for confidence. So they gain your confidence, put you under the ether,
Wow,
okay?
yeah.
And you just do, they tell you exactly what to do. Go to this store and get this card, and then call us back and give us the numbers on the back of the card. They're so convincing.
Yeah. In the light of day, it sounds like, gee, why did you fall for that? But in the middle of it, they're just so convincing.
They're so good. This is what they do for a living.
Well, you think about the IRS scam. Conceptually, you knew that we did not have a problem with the IRS, but the person is so convincing.
Yeah.
You've got to just hang up on them. Once you hear that, you know, you have something wrong with your computer, boom, hang up the phone. Okay?
Actually, I wished him Merry Christmas before I hung up, because he
Good
called
girl.
on Christmas Eve. I just laughed and I said, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, have a nice one. Hope you get lots of presents. Variations of the grandparent scam. Now, most people have heard of the grandparent scam. That is that your grandson or granddaughter was picked up at the border because they were on a trip and there were drugs in the car. And they had a group of kids from college, and there was some drugs, and they had to take the car apart, and your grandchild is in jail. And many times they will even put a person on the phone that may sound a little bit like your grandchild. And, you know, you're saying, Billy or Alice? Okay, now they know that the kid's name is Billy or Alice, okay? So you've given them a whole bunch of information that they didn't have before. But that's the original grandparent scam. And of course, they want you to send money to get the kid out of jail. But right now, there are so many variations of that. And where they get a lot of their information, and it's so sad, from the obituaries. From the obituaries. Read an obituary column, and you will see there is everything on there about a family. For instance, if the dad passed away. So Joe Smith passed away, his wife Mary, their children, Alice and her husband Frank, their grandchildren, where he went to school.
Sure.
So they have where their what their church is. Okay, there is so much information that these bad people can pick up from an obituary. I mean, I think if people want to do something nice for the person that's passed, they can, you know, put a picture with their name and, you know, deceased, whatever date or whatever, rest in peace, whatever you want to put, but do not put the whole family at risk.
How interesting. Had not thought of that.
And they will eventually, possibly a year later, call the widow or widower and tell them that one of the kids is in England and got into an accident, and they had a rental car, for instance. This is one that one woman told me about. She said that she thought it was her son-in-law, and she said to him, doesn't sound like you, Bill. And he said, oh, when I was in the accident, I broke my nose, so I may sound a little different. But I had a rental car, and my wallet was carted away when they took the car from the accident scene. So I have no money to get home, and I really don't want to upset Mary Ann, who is his wife, but they found that out from the obituary. And I don't want to upset her, so please, Mom, don't let her know. And the woman thought, this is really strange. She was sharp, and she said, well, you know, Bill, when Dad passed away, all the accounts were locked, so I can't send you any money. You're going to have to figure something else out. And she said, I'm really sorry. So take care, and hung up. Wow. And she came to one of my programs and told this story, and I've told this story to many people.
You know, I thought I was being so clever because we discussed, you know, your Facebook profile, and you don't have that out there, but it never occurred to me about obituaries.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 The other thing about the Facebook profile was that you should have it private
Right.
and be able to be seen only by your friends.
Absolutely. And so many people say, oh, well, I am at Joe Smith's Cafe tonight. Well, you're at Joe Smith's Cafe and
Nobody's
someone
home.
yeah, exactly, and nobody's home.
Put a sign on the lawn.
I'm going to Nantucket on the third week of July.
Right.
My
For
house
3
is
weeks.
My house could be vacant.
Wow.
So be very, very careful with what you put on Facebook. Sweetheart scams. Sweetheart scams are running rampant with older folks. You know, it doesn't make any difference how old you are. You still want the companionship of a friend, companionship of someone who cares about you and you care about them. So a lot of people are going online to find the love of their...
Well, we don't use the dating sites, do we,
Well,
dear?
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But a lot of people do, if they're, you know, widows or whatever. That can be a real problem because the people who are on the other end of the dating sites are not the people that they portray they are. Okay, so they could be scam artists. I know of a woman who lost $200,000. And the money, fortunately, we had a great detective who found out about this and really traced it. The money ultimately ended up in the Ukraine. But it went through a series of people throughout the country who all were madly in love with this man that they met on the computer.
So
it
these
comes
people,
from loneliness.
they're giving the money without ever having met these people.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
rule number one is never give money to anyone that you've not met in person.
No.
Wow.
Absolutely do not.
You know what also must be interesting is you were talking about people didn't want to share the scams with their family. I would imagine these must be very embarrassing for people and telling the rest of the family.
Well, what was really interesting was at the end of this route that this money took. It first went to, I believe, Philadelphia, and then it went to Texas. The last woman who was in love, her son was a police officer. Yeah, so this detective had followed it all the way through. Yeah, her son was a police officer.
Which didn't protect her much, did it?
No, no, no. She lost a good deal of money on that too.
Those kind of situations can happen on bogus meetings, dating sites, but also somebody could be using the regular dating sites in a similar way to create this relationship.
Well, it's not always older people who get scammed.
That's right.
Yeah. But, you know, older people have the most disposable income, so they are targets. They are the victims of choice.
And if you're not meeting the people, that wonderful 58-year-old guy that you're talking to could really be a 24-year-old crook.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Who's incredibly computer savvy. Very
Yeah, and
sad.
sitting in a...
In the Ukraine.
Yeah, sitting in the Ukraine in a cafe
Right.
with a little computer.
He's not going to meet you
Yeah.
for coffee.
No.
You've always wanted to travel, though, haven't you?
The other thing is purse safety. That's so important with women, of course. Don't carry a purse to a grocery store or in a shopping center. You're a target. You're a walking target. You know, wear something with a pocket, put your debit card, a little bit of money, whatever. Always have ID with you. If you want to have a tissue, put your that in there. Keep your glasses on your head, but you don't need all your credit cards.
Right.
You don't need all the pictures of your grandkids. You just don't, 14 lipsticks. You don't need all that stuff. You just need the basics. And then go shopping. But to carry a purse is like carrying a neon sign that invites someone to mug you.
But so you're saying that the real danger here is not that you lose those possessions or whatever money is in there, but that you lose all those identity pieces.
Absolutely. You can become a victim of identity theft with just what's in your purse.
Wow.
So you have to be extremely careful. So don't leave that purse in the child's safety seat and go, check out the price of beans. We do a program at People's United Bank with local police departments called Purse Patrol. And what I will do is I'll have a police officer in back of me, about 10 feet in back of me, and I have these little stickers that say, keep an eye on your purse. So I'll see a woman who is checking out the lettuce or whatever, and her purse is just sitting in the seat. I will then take this little sticker, stick it on her purse, and walk away. Police officer will come up to her and tap her on the shoulder and say, have you looked at your purse recently? And of course she panics. And he'll say, in the time that it took her to put that sticker on your purse could have been long gone and out the door.
Well, you're a troublemaker.
I am a troublemaker. I like it though.
Wow.
So the other thing is really don't carry all your credit cards with you. That's very, very important. And
your Social Security.
And your Social Security. And if you ever do lose your purse or your wallet, have a handy list available in your house, not out there for everyone to see, but it's tucked away somewhere where you can easily get it and it's hidden, with the number of the credit card, also the number that you call if the credit card is ever lost or stolen, so that you can call immediately. If your checks or your bank books are in the purse or whatever, make sure that you have immediately the number of the bank to call, their fraud department, so you can report it. So that's really an important tip. And let's talk about PIN numbers.
Yes.
Can we do that?
And we can
okay,
talk about
coming from a bank, we're going to talk about PIN numbers. Okay, make sure that the PIN number, the 4-digit PIN number for your your credit cards or your debit card, whatever, is not a number that can be easily associated with you. Okay?
Absolutely.
Also, that it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, because most people, when they go to do a PIN number, to establish their PIN number, they want something that they're going to be able to remember. So that 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably half the world has that. And the other one is something that they will remember. For instance, their address, the date they were born. Okay, maybe they were born in 1943. Okay, 1943 would be their PIN number. That is so easy. If someone has taken their purse or wallet, that's one of the first numbers they're going to try if they try to get into their accounts. So anything that can be associated with you, do not use. You can use something that only you know the association. For instance, it could be your anniversary date. Okay, and not many people know that, and that really isn't associated with you directly. Or your mother's birth date, okay, or your eldest child's birth date. But you're going to remember that number, but no one else is really going to know that that's the number that you have for your PIN number.
Excellent.
A lot of us don't want to go running around, parking in parking garages and parking your own car, so we use valet parking. If you're going to leave your keys, which you have to do so that they can park your car, get your house key off of there. Okay? The other thing is, do not leave your garage door opener in the car. Take that with you. Okay, so that's one little tip. Also, if you hear on the front door, know who's behind that door before you open it. And we just grew up in a totally different time. When we did hear that, we opened the door. You can't do that anymore.
I know.
You can't do that anymore. You've got to know who's behind the door, and if they say to you, oh, my car broke down the street, okay, give me the number, and you're talking to them either through the screen or through the storm door. You have not opened that door, and you haven't even opened it a little bit so that they can stick their knee in there and open it and force it open. So it's closed. Give me a number, I'll be happy to make the call for you. And if it's raining, so be it. It's raining, and they're out there in the rain.
And you know, there are other scams, the home improvement scams that happen going door to door.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Which in this area, because of Sandy, those kinds of things have really had an uptick in recent years, and it's just tragic for these people. But you know, if you think about it common sense-wise, what are the odds that someone's really going to have that extra material from the job around the corner, or that they just happened to see that your driveway has a pothole in it? Or, I mean, you know, it's just if it stretches your belief in credibility, it's probably not
If it's
true.
too good to be true, it is.
Probably isn't.
Right, exactly.
And anything really, frankly, unsolicited.
Yeah, if you didn't make the original call.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
back
one
to
of my
that one.
3 acid test questions for me after my experience with the gentleman from the IRS was like, how am I going to approach this in the future? So I did my 3 questions, and question number 2 was, did I reach out to them or did they reach out to me? And if they reached out to me, it's what they want. It's not something I want, so I have to take that. And then my other ones were, do I feel pressured or threatened in any way? And when someone's right there on your doorstep, that can be a very pressured situation. And one of the ways that I gave myself comfort during the day when I was home alone and the door would, I would leave the screen door locked. The storm door would be locked from the inside.
Yeah.
And because you could talk to someone through it, and you gave me permission to be rude, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. And then my 3rd question was, am I being asked for money or personal information of any kind? And those were the flags for me, that if somebody I didn't contact is asking me for personal information or for money, and I don't feel good about this, I need to get out of this situation pretty quick.
And some of the scams are so enticing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you stay on the phone, and sometimes I do, just so I will learn, you know, these travel scams, they sound wonderful.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, we care about our families. I mean, how nice would it be for me to be able to send my grandkids on a fully paid vacation to Disney? And, you know, and many people, if there's just a glimmer of hope, they will try it. And that's what sinks them, you know. That's when they get in trouble.
Well, the whole notion of having to spend money to get money is sort of one of the basics of the whole environment, isn't it? Like, you want $1 million, but you have to pay the tax on it first.
Absolutely, yes.
Wait a minute, there's something not right about that one, huh?
Yeah, but people do fall for it. But awareness is key. Awareness is key, and what we're doing here is so important, making people aware.
Well, these are a wonderful list there.
Thank you.
You gave Heidi a good girl, so I should get a good guy, because I made a list of all of my credit cards 2 days ago.
Did you really?
I definitely did.
Wow.
I knew in preparation
And
for
you
seeing
didn't
you.
even know?
I didn't even know. The vibrations came out from
That's wonderful.
So
yes.
that's a good boy.
One
Okay,
of his-
the other thing that
Yeah.
I learned this week, Charlie, is that you shouldn't put your mail in the blue box that has the big mouth, what I call the mouth on it, the lid or whatever.
Yes.
Because what they're doing in many areas is what's called phishing. And they're getting a box, putting double-sided tape on it, wrapping a string around it, and fishing at night, in the middle of the night, into the blue post box and pulling out whatever they can, and it's like, voila, we made it, okay? So what you do if you want to use that blue mailbox, make sure that it either has the very thin opening, which they're doing now, but I'm sure they haven't done it all over the country, because this is fairly new. They're always coming up with these new ideas, these scam artists, they're so good. Or bring it into the post office directly. Of course, that's the safest thing. Or wait until it's just about time for the local pickup, for the postman to pick it up, and then put your mail in there. The other thing is, don't put your mail in your personal mailbox at the bottom of the driveway, whatever, with a little red flag up. that's a perfect opportunity for someone to go into your mailbox and take your mail out, especially if it's the night that you paid all your bills.
Yeah.
And you've got your routing number and your signature. A lot of checks have your address, your name, your telephone number. They have just about everything they need. They're probably just one little thing to take your identity, to steal your identity. So don't do that.
Wow, that's great info. If we could kind of go back here, this wonderful thing that...
Do you want me to go through the list?
Yeah, there were a lot of
recap.
things in there, the top 10. We covered a few of them,
Great,
some of
yeah.
the things, but wanted your thoughts on it.
Sure.
There's one in here at the end that you need to speak on because you were mentioning it. I'm not very familiar with it, but I know you are. As I said, the top 10 list was of the most reported scams.
Right.
And number 1 was the IRS impersonation. Robocalls, unsolicited phone calls, which happen all day long to us and a lot of other seniors. The sweepstakes Jamaican lottery.
If you didn't play it, you're not going to win it.
Right.
The Can You Hear Me scam. We didn't talk about that one,
Yeah.
but it's when your phone rings and someone says, "Oh, I'm having trouble with my headset. Gee, can you hear me?" And they want you to say yes so that they have a voice print of you and can, because a lot of the banks now are using...
starting a couple of calls that I've made where they now have voice recognition. So if they've gotten hold of your yes, saying it to it, they are going to use that to get into your credit cards.
the Grandparent Scam is next on the list. Then
Can we go back to
sure.
the yes there? What are we saying for people that if you get something like that, just if
Hang
somebody
up.
goes and says, "Can you hear me?" Just make sure that that's a scam.
Just hang up.
Just hang up.
Hang up. Absolutely.
But don't. The normal thing would be to go yes
Yeah.
to whatever, but don't do it.
Boom.
Yeah, don't say it.
Right in their ear.
So the Grandparent Scam was number 5, the Computer Scam was number 6, the Romance Scam was number 7, Elder Financial Abuse, which is a very broad category and
Yes.
very sad, but happens. Did you want to speak to
Yeah.
that at all?
Well, yeah. Most scams against older adults have a financial basis, okay? So they have something to do with money. One, if you are, this is just something that just popped into my head.
Yeah.
If you're going into the hospital for surgery that you know, elective surgery, knee replacement, whatever, make sure that you get all your valuables out of the house and into either a trusted person's home or get a safe deposit box, okay? Do not keep your checkbook, any bank statements, whatever, out in the open, because after you come home, you're going to have a ton of people coming in, okay? There's a good possibility that you're going to have aides. Now, they may be from very reputable agencies, but there are times that, you know, life happens and something happens in that person's life that they need some quick cash. And you have your mother's diamond ring sitting in your jewelry box. And it's very enticing for them. So get all that out of the house. That's very, very important. What I have just found out through a couple of people is that caregiver theft is, yeah, it's
Higher than we want to believe.
yeah. So, you know, go to your local bank, get a safe deposit box, and put your valuables in there if you have people coming in and out of your house.
Good advice.
But you know, a little side issue on that, for people as they're getting older, sometimes they can be a bit confused and they're not always believed or something. And I think that there's a case also where you should keep in contact with your family members if you have them to alert them of whatever issues you think are going on, too.
Oh, absolutely. But some people don't have
I know.
anyone.
No.
Some people just don't have family. So, you know, if they many times will come into our bank and we're uncomfortable with how they're acting. You know, they're in and out of the bank a couple of times a day, whatever. we will report to Adult Protective Services and tell them that we're uncomfortable with that customer.
And that's a great service.
Yes.
And I was not aware that, I mean, I'm aware of Child Protective Services, but I never knew there was Adult Protective Services,
yes.
and it's
Yes.
kind of reassuring to know that it's there,
Yes.
and that we should never hesitate to make use of it.
Yeah, and they will go out and do a home visit and evaluate that person.
It's good to know
Yeah.
for ourselves, for our own loved ones, and for the
Do you
people
know
we care
something like
about.
that is kept quiet? They don't know it was necessarily you or something?
We make an anonymous referral.
Great.
We make an anonymous referral. Anonymous to the person.
Right.
Okay? But not anonymous to Adult Protective Services.
Right.
Of course, we have to tell who we are.
Right. I'm just thinking of somebody, a neighbor who sees something. They should
absolutely do that. Absolutely do that. Make a referral to Adult Protective Services.
Just to finish up, number 9 was identity theft, and you touched upon that. And then the last one was government grant scam. And this one was new to me.
I really don't know much about that.
You get a notification that you've been given a grant from the government, you're eligible for a grant, and that you need to post some kind of payment to collect it. And the first thing that's pointed out is that grants are simply not awarded, grants must be applied for. So if you haven't applied for it,
You're not
if
gonna
you
get
didn't
it,
play the
yeah.
game,
Yeah.
you didn't win anything. But this apparently has been on the uptick, so here we are, awareness that, you know, this
Yeah,
is
you're making me aware of that one.
different part of
Yeah.
the curve here, but the government grant, because of your citizenship, your age, your whatever eligibility they can
Church
concoct,
affiliation.
whatever, because you're a wonderful person.
But you know, the government grant is similar to the Irish lottery. It's the same basic thing. Like, we got a letter that said, congratulations, you've won $1 million.
Oh, that's right, we did get that letter. I forgot we won all that
Right.
money. What
But
did
they
we
said,
ever do
"But
with it?
You can't tell anybody."
Oh, yeah, that's the common
Very important,
denominator
don't
on
tell
most
anyone.
of these scams.
Right, right.
Do not tell anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are all different versions of it, but at the core, it's the same scam. I guess that I would like to leave this with saying it's so important, what we were stressing before. Think, don't feel pressured. Believe in yourself to have the confidence to say no to things and not, you know,
Yeah.
what else can I say?
Can I throw in one more suggestion that
Sure,
I had come
please.
across, which was just to not donate over the phone.
Oh, that's a great one.
Don't
Thank
ever
you.
donate over the phone. If you want to give money,
Yes.
that's wonderful, and no one's saying don't do that, but don't do it over the phone, because you have no way of verifying that the person on the other end of the connection is really legitimate and who they say they are. Go to the internet and get a phone number from that if you want to call up proactively. Again, did they reach out to you or did you reach
And
out to
also
them?
the Navigator.
And Charity Navigator, check with Charity Navigator. One of the biggest scams in the country was a multi-million dollars, many millions of dollars that were donated to these 4 different cancer charities, all of which were bogus. And it's really sad when you think of how much research that money could actually have accomplished. So use charitynavigator.org to understand that this is a bona fide and well-run organization worthy of your donation. And the same with political candidates. Don't donate over the phone.
Well, you know, we open our hearts and our purses.
Yeah.
You know, we're of that generation where we truly care. So someone gives us a sob story, we say, oh yeah, how much would you like,
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And that's wonderful. But do it in a way that's
Yes.
Care, but be
trackable.
cautious.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly,
Care, but be
Charlie.
cautious.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've reached the end here. I really appreciate this, Angela.
Thank you.
And
Thank
you
you.
for
I
sharing
enjoyed
your
it.
perspective on it. It was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, this
Thank
is so
you.
helpful to everyone, I'm sure. I know I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and we'll be seeing you soon. Bye now.